Hello there everyone, as we've got you a beautiful PvP in the first semi-final of the WardiTV 25,000 YouTube subscriber Invitational. Obviously, if you didn't watch the previous series, the round of 8s of this, then you're going to get spoiled watching this because this is the semi-finals, there's no way around it. I am going to talk about those matches and results that already happened. As we start off in the top left-hand side, the Blue Protoss player from Europe, one of the two Europeans still in the event, it is ShoWTimE. And he takes on the Red Protoss. In the bottom right-hand side, always looking good lately. If only in his own little way, it is Zest. Of course, both of these players had an interesting little route into the semi-finals. Both of them took down a Terran player. And let's just put it this way, ShoWTimE made it look much easier than Zest did. Zest definitely had some challenging, longer games. And ShoWTimE's games were pretty quick. His opponent definitely, Innovation wanted to be pretty aggressive and tried to attack him a lot, and it didn't really work out too well for him, and ShoWTimE was able to take that series, which was super awesome. That was the first match we uploaded. Now we've only got 3 matches left. This one, the other semi-final, and the grand finals, all coming up in the next few days on the channel. Of course, if you do enjoy this content, well, do not forget to leave a like, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. It's been great to see that these YouTube videos, or this YouTube tournament, has been doing so well on YouTube. I've noticed a significant rise in the number of subscribers. I've seen a significant rise in the interactions on the videos. And it's just freaking awesome. It's the sort of thing that makes me say, hey, we should do this again. I don't know at how many subscribers, or maybe we don't need to make it a goal. Maybe we just do another one in a couple months' time. But I've had a hell of a time doing it, and it seems like you guys have had a hell of a time watching it. So that's freaking awesome. But hey, we can't talk too much longer about that because Zest is going to play, if you've not watched a lot of PvP lately, so say you watch a lot of YouTube stuff, but you skip mirror matches, but maybe you watch this one because you're into the YouTube Invitational, this might be like a, whoa, hold up, isn't PvP all about 2 gateways? ShoWTimE is doing it all right over here, and Zest is doing it all so wrong. Well, yeah, actually, you're not kind of wrong until the Super Battery came into play, and now these 1-gate expands, and even sometimes Nexus first plays, are becoming much more popular and much more common. Zest was one of the first players to start doing this regularly, and he will open the series up with it here against ShoWTimE, because that's going to be a Robo facility building. So ShoWTimE scouted this, decided to proxy Robo as a response. We'll see what Zest can do about it. Now, fortunately for ShoWTimE... Oh, no, he does... Okay, he actually saw the Robo anyway. Well, Zest sees it. He should send that Stalker to go pick off the pylon. Zest? Is he going to pretend he just hasn't seen it and let ShoWTimE commit to it? I guess that might be the smartest way to go about it in a way. Because then ShoWTimE just goes for this, but Zest obviously can make all the preparations he feels he needs. By going into a Stargate, he's going to be able to go into a Phoenix and get some lifts off on the Immortals and maybe target down a Warp Prism as he gets multiple Phoenix. That's got to be his goal here. But yeah, this 1-gate expand, it has become a bit more popular. And ShoWTimE going to test the waters and see if he can just straight up break this. Wow, it's actually a straight up Void Ray from Zest. So a Void Ray to try and help defend. I mean, that makes sense too. You can activate that Void Ray, lock it onto the Warp Prism and get some damage done there. I mean, that's already a pretty good way of maybe making this work, in fact. As 2 Adepts will start their shade up into the natural expansion. And in they go. Into a world where, quite frankly, they're just not going to commit. I mean, if they could hit the mineral line, it might be worth getting a few probes, but at the same time, they've got a 1-trip ticket into the main base, and they actually might even be upgraded to a return. We'll see how this goes. They go into the main, and ShoWTimE will fight here to begin with. Zest has his spider senses tingling, though, and he realizes something is up, and now ShoWTimE sees that Void Ray, and I think this is the first time ShoWTimE realizes, perhaps, you really knew what I was doing then, because that Void Ray is absolutely not something which would be used regularly. That is 100% I saw Proxy Robo, and I'm coming up with an answer to it. Now there's going to be 2 Void Rays already out, and I can't help but feel with all of these shield batteries, one of them being able to be super batteried, it really feels like the double Void is going to be so powerful. There's a fair few Stalkers coming in, yes. I mean, if these Voids get on top of the Prism, it's going to melt, especially if they get prismatic alignment up. And if you lose that Prism, you lose that warping potential. I know you can warp in over here, which isn't too far away, but still, even being denied a little while where you can't micro, you can't warp in as quickly, that can actually completely switch up and change the way that things go, as we do see another battery going down in the front here. Warp gate gets picked up. A few Adepts will go shading forward. They're going to start moving up that ramp in toward the main base. The Voids still sat there, and the Stalkers and the Adept are sat ready to fight as well. I just don't really believe that there's a way for ShoWTimE to break this right now. You know, I look at this and I see, I see a world in which we've got ShoWTimE poking at the front, having a pretty good time. And honestly, like I say, I just don't really know what you do to actually get further than this. You know, it's great picking off a gateway, and maybe you get the Cyber Core eventually, but that can't be all you ever get done. The good thing is getting more Stalkers, which obviously does start to help a little bit against all of those Void Rays, and he comes right in. He actually one-shot the Void Ray right there, or a couple shot it down. But now the Super Battery is way too much, and Zest is making this an easy hold, honestly. Down 9 army supply, a third Void Ray showing up. Problem is, a lot of the Stalkers went down there. The only good news is obviously Prismatic Alignment is gone, Super Battery is gone. Maybe that gives ShoWTimE the possibility to truly break on through in this. But I still just don't really believe it does, right? I still just don't think it's enough. That is a Shield Battery blocking the Adept Shade up into the main. And once again, those Void Rays are out here, pushing a couple of sentries back. We see ShoWTimE spreading, splitting a little bit. Shield Battery's healing up here as one of the Void Rays goes down. Shield Battery's still healing wherever possible. The Cyber Core is going to be next to fall. It will go down indeed. And these Voids, what are they going to get up to next? I mean, I think they are just going to be enough. 3 Voids still on the map. He's lost 2 overall, but look at what he's traded out for. 8 Stalkers. Resources lost is the same. And as far as Zest is concerned, well, that's fine because he still has Shield Batteries. He's still mining with 8 more probes. So Zest can afford to be trading evenly. And that's exactly what's happening. The only scenario where this is really bad is if he trades evenly, but he loses all the Void Rays still. Because then maybe the rest of his army isn't as good. The Void Rays really are meant to be the power play. But even then, I feel like if you're going to trade out evenly and lose the Void Rays, there must be basically nothing left then from ShoWTimE. Because these Void Rays are hella expensive units. You'd have to kill so much here for that to still be an even trade. And I think that's basically the scenario, is that Sentry gets saved. Shield Battery power comes through once, but not the second time around. I mean, ShoWTimE is getting to that kind of dangerous number of units. We see this dance just continuing. Comes in, picks up a Sentry. The Voids are going to continue through once again. I honestly, the more the Void Rays stack up though as well, the powerful numbers they get to. It's kind of funny. I know you don't really think of Void Rays that way all the time, but mass Void Rays can actually kind of work against the wrong composition. And the problem is for ShoWTimE, this is the wrong composition. Yes, it's a lot of Stalkers, but they don't have Blink. Against mass Void Ray, you kind of need to start thinking about splash damage, Archons. And that's obviously not really a thing here either. Zest gets supply block, the Stalkers. Still trying to come through here. One Stalker goes down underneath those Void Rays. ShoWTimE still wants to push into the front. This alert gets sealed up one more time. I mean, there's also just nice little tanky units at the front as well, right? They're just soaking some damage while the Void Rays come forward and put some damage out. I honestly believe the more Void Rays that get out, the better this is going to be. I guess the only real scary thing is if you get to one-shot numbers on the Stalkers. Because then if you start one-shotting down Void Rays, suddenly they don't survive through Shield Batteries. And then suddenly you're really nullified on what your defense is meant to be. And maybe we're kind of at that range. Ooh, not quite. Maybe if everything got in range at once, that one Void Ray very nearly fell. Did get healed back up now. Obviously, if these Stalkers really commit in though and they really start to stand here and fight, then the Prismatic Alignment pops. Hey, Zest is floating a lot of money. He's going to build 2 more gateways, but that's a little bit of a shame because that's 1,000 minerals in the bank. And I mean, it's just Zest all over, right? Not spending his money. Take these gases. Well, that might be hard. Taking these gases when there's not really... How do you actually ever mine these these natural gases, guys? Hello, I've got a question. How am I meant to mine my gas geysers? That is a good question. I actually don't really know at all, as we do see the Stalkers of ShoWTimE still pressing through. A force field down, a couple of Zealots in the front lines taking a beating. I feel like I've said that a lot of times. I feel like there's not been much to say apart from literally saying what's happening, because this has been a very weird fight. We do see some Stalkers going down. It's just been this continuous poking, right? It's just been non-stop. What the hell are we recalling? What is stuck that he has to recall? Probes? Okay, because the probes are mining out the main. So he needs to recall some probes down because he's pulled himself out. I mean, this is such a mess from Zest. Now he still has 5 probes stuck in the main base. I can't believe he had to recall probes to the natural. A natural where he can't mine gases from. As he is trying to take a moment to actually target down a pylon, he pops a super battery. And he takes down his own pylon. Supply blocks himself. unpowers 2 of his gateways just so you can further oversaturate the natural Zest. What is going on? What the hell is happening? Oh, I casted this game kind of late at night. I'm kind of like, is this real life right now? There's a prismatic alignment, and that's where the stalkers are just going to melt. ShoWTimE realizes he can't just sit here forever. He's landing now back at home as well. So he had to make the play at the end of the day. That Void Ray count, we said it was going to be deadly in good numbers, and it absolutely was. One Void Ray activates prismatic as it just spawned. It gets the prism kill. And Zest does pick up a first game in this best of 5. Guys, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. That was kind of a hilarious game, if I'm going to be honest. Especially toward the end. I mean, there's just such a series of things that happen here from Zest. First, he walls himself fully in. Then he has to recall the probes because of it. He can't take the gases. I mean, what the hell was this, even? What the hell was this? Okay, well, that was a very fun way to start game number 1 of this series. I do hope that maybe game number 2 is a little bit more fun. Because I appreciate that kind of was just a clump of units poking at the front of a bunch of Void Rays and eventually dying. And I felt like maybe we could have accelerated that process a little bit. Guys, we are gonna go and jump into the next game. Imagine that. Actually going into game number 2 when you've got a full best of 5 series to cast. Everdream for map number 2. And in the top right hand side, we'll once again start with the German powerhouse. It is ShoWTimE. You decided to go for that proxied robo, and I'm just gonna kind of do like a because I don't really think it was that good. It never really had that much of a punch, right? And I guess a lot of it was just it was scouted, and it's scouted into Void. It's scouted so early, Zest could realistically make Void Rays against it. And I think that's always a sign of like, oh yikes, this was never going to work. Of course, that did mean Zest ended up taking that game number 1. He spawns in bottom left-hand side, red Protoss player here. As we get this underway, that's a gateway to set up in the main base. Gate on either side of the map, and it looks like this time we might see a double gate from both. The only thing that I was going to say about it was actually that there was a... Ignore the War Chest Team League, by the way, guys, just because I was doing War Chest Team League earlier today. I haven't removed the logos mod from my StarCraft folder just yet, so... You guys just ignore that. Don't worry yourselves about it. But this isn't a War Chest Team League game or anything. Just the logos mod still on. But yes, Everdream is just not really a map for 1 gate expand because it is a shorter one, aggressive. You can absolutely break through a ramp at the front here, which has no ramp up, or a wall at the front, which has no ramp up into it. Which is kind of why Death Orb was kind of a weirder one for it too. I mean, the most popular maps are generally something like Pillars of Gold, where you've got that ramp up into the natural, and that just makes it so much easier to defend a lot of the aggression that tries to come down as a punishment for going 1 gate expansion. So, yeah, not expecting on Everdream for sure, though. Just doesn't seem like the kind of map where those things really happen as often. I mean, Death Orb can kind of get behind us, that little bit larger overall. Yeah, I definitely think it can make sense. Everdream, like I say, it's just kind of like a, it's not the kind of map we see it on. A lot of players have shown us that lately. I know it's great commentary, and it's just like, I'm in a very, I guess, vocal mood. Maybe isn't the way to express myself, but because usually I'm obviously very vocal. I talk a lot, right? But I'm in a very like noise-making mood this evening while casting these games to kind of summarize how things go. So, you know, game 1 was a little bit like, as well, you know, it wasn't really everything we wanted it to be. I want to see some awesome PvP here. You know, PvP right now is being hailed as the mirror matchup. It's amazing, it's fun, exciting, tense, high-skilled, action-packed, lots of bases long. You know, and game number 1 was Zest Mass and Void Rays against some proxy robos. So, you know, when you phrase it like that, I do feel a little bit cheated out of game number 1. And that's just me, of course. You know, this is my little baby, the first ever YouTube tournament we're doing. And it's like, I kind of want to see some awesome PvP. So, Zest, give it to me, boy. Well, and ShoWTimE, you know, it takes 2 to make a great PvP. That's why it's called PvP and not just P. Yeah, you see, Wardy's getting real deep tonight as well. All the logic coming through. Well, this was a pretty quick and simple 2-gate expand from both of them. So both of them went 2 gates. The big thing here is that there was actually a robo a little bit faster from Zest. So I actually don't know how this worked out exactly. I guess his gas time was a little bit different. He's going to be on just 2 less Stalkers, but that allowed him to get the Robo much faster. So he gets a very fast Robo, and this can turn into a very quick push across the map. You get an Immortal, you get into a Prism, and you just kind of go with 2 gates of Warp-ins, plus that 1 Immortal, and it can really look to punish someone who's expanding quickly, but isn't teching up as much, or as quick, or setting up the defenses like they might want to be. I don't know what Zest is hoping to do here. He's completely outnumbered on the Stalker count, so ShoWTimE will continue to move forward. Hopefully he hasn't baited up this ramp into the Immortal, because there's a force field there as well, and that might have been what Zest was trying to get a hold of here, right? Get ShoWTimE close enough to drop 2 force fields and let that Immortal go to town. There's this 1 Stalker already pushed back a little bit of a fight back right there. And there's the Blink Storm from ShoWTimE, so we get to see where his game plan is going. Zest actually does sneak the Warp Prism out onto the map, but now he was going to go and intercept, but you know what? It's kind of working anyway. That's a Stalker for Stalker. This Prism should still be able to intercept. He actually gets a 2nd Stalker now already. There's only so many ways that these Stalkers can go, as the Hallucination will move into the main and see, okay, well, not really much crazy there, but, you know, nothing that he didn't already really know about by the fact that this Prism's chasing him down, and that's a beautiful 2 force fields. I did expect to see a 3rd force field right there, but I think, well, in the end, it wasn't necessary, actually. So in that regard, it works out. But the Warp Prism just flew straight into some Stalkers, and that's always going to be scary. In fact, the Warp Prism goes down. Now the Immortal should be able to die, but there's just not the firepower here from ShoWTimE, especially when he's just on Stalkers, which obviously take a beating from that Immortal in the first place. ShoWTimE up by 6 probes, so again, this becomes just a defensive game, but imagine you had 4 extra Stalkers here. The difference that makes is just absolutely monumental. And was it really worth losing those 4 Stalkers to kill, what, a Pylon? Well, no, obviously it absolutely was not. It did kind of buy a bit of time as well, those Stalkers. You know, this army from Zest didn't move straight across the map, so that's one way to look at it, but even still, you're not quite then convincing me, you're not convincing me with that, you know? Alright, well, there's a Twilight about to finish up from Zest in the main base. Again, that finished. Going to be a Resonating Glaive starting up, so that starts pretty much immediately here. The Blink about to be done on the Twilight. And Zest will move in to the main base. Hallucination into the main. Going to take a turn down toward the Natural. It has a little bit of a look around here as well. Forge still about halfway done. These Stalkers of ShoWTimE will move down to the bottom left. And again, the Hallucination of ShoWTimE just moving around, just checking to see what's up. Forge will finish in the main base, and just going to be seeing Stalkers, Sentries, Immortal. All of this coming through into the center. He actually took a little bit of damage Zest on that Warp Prism. Hey, Blink is done, so that really does give you a lot of mobility, a lot of options with these Stalkers. And I guess the issue is, usually against Glaives, you need some kind of splash damage. And obviously this is a pretty quick Glaives. It isn't easy to get splash damage up against it, so you really are just relying on the Stalkers and their Blink value. Adepts don't trade well against Stalkers, really. ShoWTimE really wants to get that Warp Prism. If he takes that Warp Prism down, that would be absolutely massive, as he does get around the right-hand side here. Going to pull up toward the Natural. A handful more Stalkers just warped in to come and reinforce this, so ShoWTimE bringing everything out to the front. Forge about to complete in the main base, and there's a Hallucination of ShoWTimE leading the charge out to the center of the map. So away we go. Fly, Phoenix, fly. Show us what is ahead. Robo Facility, Nexus, getting set to go. A 3rd on the left-hand side as well. And well, the Observer of Zest makes its way up. He's just going to see those Stalkers, which kill off a Nexus pretty much immediately. So no real surprises there either. ShoWTimE still just moving down. I mean, again, he's got Blink, so a lot of mobility. No surprise he ends up on a faster 3rd. His army's just more mobile. Does he need to get much more done with this Blink Stalker play? I guess the question is, the Hallucination fades off a little bit before picking up further info, but there's a new one already heading to the main. He's already seen a lot of the main base. ShoWTimE's been sending these Hallucinations consistently throughout the game, so he's really aware of everything that's happening. He's able to make his decisions because of that. His decisions right now to go into charge, +1 attack, and he's adding on a lot of extra gateways, still only on 3 gas here in total. So unlike Zest, who's looking to tack up, ShoWTimE absolutely wants to build a ton of Zealots alongside these Stalkers. And I'm pretty sure he just wants to go with this. The only thing that I'm really seeing that's missing is maybe a Prism to get going with this kind of Zealot Stalker army. He does add on a Robo base, so adds on the possibility of Disruptors. Well, I'm surprised that that's happening off 3 gases. That's the one thing that's getting me, is Zest with that little bit of a Zest bank in play. Isn't it just crazy one of the best players in the world is just known for floating money? And yet they're still so good? Honestly, that absolutely amazes me. Can you imagine how good Zest would be if he could always spend that extra money he has? Like, it's actually crazy that that's something that Zest is just known. Like, he's just so good, and yet he's known for that. It makes me wonder. I wish I was so good, and yet known for how much money I don't spend. And, I tell everyone I'm channeling my inner Zest, and they're like, no, Wardy, you're just terrible. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not saying Zest is terrible, but, if you're going to put those words in my mouth. All right, here we go. All seriousness, though. This fight's about to get started. There's a disruptor on the way from ShoWTimE. That's what he would love to buy time for. Honestly, I feel like the charge helps a lot here as well. There's so many force fields available. He's going to get 2-3 sentries to begin with. Just the 2. I mean, how many more force fields really are there, though? Honestly, these sentries feel like they're already running low on energy. No idea. Apparently, that's not going to tell us. There's like 3 force fields. It just warps in 2 more sentries as well, but that's very expensive. Hey, if this army moves in a big clump again, this disruptor shot fires, that could be absolutely huge. And I can totally see it happening because I don't see Zest making this army kind of approach, very differently. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. So many sentries, and Immortal as well. The other Immortal takes its shields off. Oh, and that's brutal, of course. Well, that's a hell of a first disruptor shot to get us started. Across the map, by the way, there's a couple of zealots that are just swiping down probes. And this fight is just happening. Apparently, the Stalkers blink in. Oh my god, obviously there's no blink from Zest. Sorry, there is blink from Zest. That's how he got over there, of course. Wardy, you know what, let's just take a quick rewind on this fight, because it just obviously is a very important fight. We just missed the start of it, looking at the Zealots. So, as I go look at this Zealot, which is having a good time picking off probes, this fight starts up, and Zest, he drops a couple of force fields, and then he blinks over here. And I think he just wants to get rid of the shield battery that's overcharged. But what happens is we have the counter blink from ShoWTimE, which gets him on top of the Immortals, and that's basically Zest's advantage. The fact that these Immortals are part of the army, as soon as these Immortals die, 1, and then very quickly 2, and then very quickly 3, I mean, then that's your advantage gone. You're up against disruptors. Your blink is actually on cooldown as well because you blinked in. So this disruptor gets a good shot too. And that's just an extra kind of nail in the coffin. But already having lost your advantage here, what are you going to do? Blink out via these Stalkers, which are then going to be able to blink micro away? That's never going to trade well for you in the slightest. So ShoWTimE absolutely dominates this fight. Wins out the game moments later. And ties us up 1-1 in this best of 5, guys. And of course, I mean, we took a quick look at this Zealot. There still are just the 2 Zealots out here. Now 10 probes deep on kills. And ShoWTimE makes game number 2 look rather simple as he goes up in the series. Oh, sorry. Series is tied up as I try to fit that in there very quickly. After realizing, I was like, ShoWTimE's up. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're tied up. Using the wrong words, try to correct myself. You know what? I should have just let it be, because the magic of the replays of the YouTube is that I can just, we cut out the in-betweens, and then I'm kind of just like here again, so suddenly, so it wouldn't have mattered. So yeah, hi guys, my mistake. Obviously they're tied up 1-1. ShoWTimE winning out that last game. Had to get himself tied up. He's in the top right of Eternal Empire, with his opponent in the bottom left-hand side being Zest, a red Protoss player. Yeah, 1-1. And going to a game 3, which means we're guaranteed 4 maps, which I'm a big fan of. Really hoping Eternal Empire is the map that gets us to see. We were kind of on the way to kind of Disruptor Wars in that last game, but obviously Zest didn't survive long enough. I'd love to see it here in game number 3. Eternal Empire is a map that really lends itself to those Disruptor Wars. It's a very easy 3, then 4, then 5 bases, so it's very easy to get up defenses. Even if you fall behind, it's very hard for someone else to end the game. And so I really hope we get into one of those long epic games where we get like 20 plus minutes. We're talking about like carriers being made to help out and all that kind of stuff. That's the sort of stuff I think would just be so freaking awesome to see especially between like Zest and ShoWTimE. ShoWTime's known for how good he is in those like long macro games, playing defensively and surviving. Zest, quite the aggressive player, and I feel like Blinkstalker Disruptor lends itself. That's the cool thing about Blinkstalker Disruptor, right? It's great for ShoWTimE defensively, but it's also so good for someone like Zest because you can use it offensively so well also. So yeah, I'd love to see that kind of matchup and that mix-up, as right now both probes just can't get in a full scout and maintaining scout information on this main base of each other. probe moving around the back. A little nibble nibble. That probe does take a few extra shots. It doesn't really know where it wants to go, does it? As you just see the couple of gates. Well, 2 adepts already morphing in right there. Warp gates building from both players here. Not that that's very surprising. What is kind of surprising maybe is the 2 adepts from both sides as we get into this right away. We've been seeing this setup a lot as well, by the way. This kind of pylon in the wall setup. I kind of wondered about this a little bit, and we saw in the War Chest Team League a little bit too. So my theory is, and bear with me, because I don't know how realistic it is, but first of all, like, the gateway here is already a little bit tougher to attack. You kind of have to push more up the ramp to reach it. And I think this pylon just puts this gateway maybe a little bit further back as well. Obviously, you can re-pylon here if necessary. And so that was my theory, that maybe this is to help protect this gateway a little bit more. But yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm not 100% sure if that's really going to turn out to be the case. Yeah, it's kind of it's a very interesting way to set up. That's also 4 sentries from Zest, so he really is looking for all of the hallucinations. He wants to know everything that's going on. It's going to be the exact same from ShoWTimE. Can you believe that? Well, Zest actually cancels up one of his sentries. It looks like ShoWTimE might commit through to all 4 of his, though. And Zest just takes as a chance to go Twilight in a Forge already. And it seems like Zest is just not slowing down at all. He just says, yep, cool, we're both expanding. And to me, that just spells out a big old macro game. So let's get my Blink on the map. Let's get my +1 attack on the field. Those are obviously all big positives that you're kind of looking for in this. As there goes our hallucination. Now down the bottom left-hand side, a couple of these adepts from Zest. Controlling around a little bit in ShoWTimE. Hallucination goes flying through into the main base. And a few of these sentries already just nibbling away at the hallucination as well. So hallucination taking just that little bit of extra damage. And there go our adepts from ShoWTimE. Then move out towards the center of the map. Twilight Council in the Forge. Coming up. Stalkers pop. That's going to be a dead hallucination as well. Yeah, there's that Forge still just coming through too. So a little bit of setup right now, guys. A little bit of getting going. Robo facility sets up from Zest on the natural, and we are going to have adepts walking into each other, but ShoWTimE's a little slow to respond, and if he'd noticed a bit faster, he might have at least gotten a sentry kill out of it. He does force 3 force fields, but I'm not sure if you're really just looking for force fields in this scenario. He does have force fields of his own. I mean, I guess the adepts aren't super valuable either. They're still nice units to try and run by to get a couple of probes, and especially right now, these adepts survive and they actually do find themselves into a mineral line. Well, that natural is completely barren of defenses, right? So there's totally a world in which you can get damage done there. As you can see, ShoWTimE's pretty much going to mimic Zest in terms of upgrades and the way that they move in this game. But the +1's going to be later than the +1 of Zest. Blink is going to be later. These 2 extra gates finishing up, and the robotics facility of ShoWTimE is on the way on that natural expansion. You still just have this hallucination moving up around the top, seeing where it can go. Yeah, Blinking +1 going to be finishing up soon. You know, I don't mind where ShoWTimE's at. He's obviously a little bit later on the upgrades, but he's also a little bit later on the 3rd. So that's where the kind of defensive disruptors come into play, where even if you get yourself a little bit behind, typically if you can get to disruptors, you can kind of survive anyway. I guess the question is, do you get to disruptors? We see double robo. Am I crazy? I feel like I saw another robo building, which I'm just insane. Okay, we're all going to see just immortal production from Zest then. He's on that 4 gas versus the 3 gas of ShoWTimE. So this is very similar to the last game, and maybe we see Zest playing similarly and just continue to move out. He actually takes a 4th base at 6 minutes, so Zest really doesn't believe ShoWTimE's going to be that aggressive. But ShoWTimE comes in, checks it, sees it right away. And that 4th base has started before ShoWTimE's 3rd is even finished up. Now that's obviously maybe Zest being a bit too greedy. And I wonder if then ShoWTimE says, right, let's pull the trigger and let's fight. Problem is, if he tries to do that, he's attacking into a Zest that had those faster upgrades, has had a better eco, and is realistically probably going to have the defender's advantage enough to be able to hold that off. Observer sitting overhead. And seeing these few stalkers and sentries continuing down the bottom side. One of the stalkers blinking back. The rest of the stalkers blinking back as well. ShoWTimE bringing this over to the bottom right-hand corner and, well, maybe a continued attack through for the 6 o'clock position. 6 more stalkers, sorry. Opening from ShoWTimE in that corner. Moving into this, you're going to see that next in some trouble. ShoWTimE blinks in bravely. Actually, very nearly finds that immortal. Feels like that shield wasn't even a barrier, and the shield just wasn't even there. ShoWTimE might get the 4th base. Of course, I feel like killing off a 4th base in a world where the opponent took the 4th so early is not a huge win, but more so an expectation. See how he can do in the continued fight. The problem is those immortals he bravely brings to the bottom side, believing he can win that fight, but he just gets 1 stalker. ShoWTimE looking to be ready to expand himself. Zest will rebuild right here. That's going to get 1 shot down. So that's another kill, actually, and the probe. This does start to get that a little bit more expensive for Zest. As wow, Zest going to go Templar Archives, so no indication of disruptors in the slightest. He's going to go Templar Archives, bring those High Templar and hence Archons into play. And that's going to be some added splash damage for the Zealot Stalker army, so that will be really cool. The rest of these Stalkers of Zest around that bottom right corner, and still just seeing Templar Archives about to finish up. I can't quite believe it. I mean, at the same time, ShoWTimE's not doing much of anything. I think he does just want to continue with 3 gases, just continue to build kind of like PvT style, just mass Zealot, mass Stalker. Nothing else for the moment apart from the attack upgrades. Finally drops a Robo Bay and a Dark Shrine in sync. That should mean he needs to take these extra gases though, right? There's no way, especially with the DTs. They are very expensive to start warping in, like a whole bunch of them at once, so definitely expect to see a few more of those being set up as the couple of Archons putting some damage out. This Hallucinated Phoenix will get through to the main base. And ShoWTimE does pull away up to the top side of the map again. Robo Bay about to finish behind this mineral line in the main. Plenty of Stalkers on the watchtower. We do see a little bit of this army of ShoWTimE moving through the center as well. Gonna see Zealots that kind of wanted to start charging into those Stalkers, I imagine. Zest gonna bring this around the top and, well, right away picks off a Zealot. And ShoWTimE is here to pick off an Observer in return, but Zest is gonna force a fight. I am worried that this is gonna be a fight where there really is just so many tech units. Look at the amount of Archons, the amount of Immortals. Zest has a lot of charge loss that once they start making their way to the frontier, that's going to be a problem for Zest. He has no real way to get rid of charge loss, whereas obviously Zest did. Those Archons work wonders when it comes to getting rid of those low health, light, stacky units where splash damage is amazing. Supply staying even in this as ShoWTimE still trying to blink his way into some of the fights. He's got a DT mixed in here, which is actually doing a lot of the damage, especially to some of these higher tech units like the Immortals. Disruptor shot goes off as well, and Archon being picked away at. But overall, despite all of this, it's still Zest that's pushing through. Wow, I mean, this was a very one-sided fight. Never mind the fact these DTs have so many kills. 3 kills on this one, 3 on the other. That's huge when you consider those kills are like Immortals and Stalkers, etc. Wow, it's just too much here from Zest. I almost can't quite believe that. With ShoWTimE having the Disruptor available too. To me, that's kind of a crazy way for this to finish up, but I guess it kind of makes sense. Actually, no, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, that was not how I expected that to finish up. I'm just going to say it again. That's not what I expected, or how I expected things to go in the slightest. GG, friends. We are going to go and jump into game number 4. Yeah, I guess ShoWTimE just really didn't have... I mean, it makes sense in the sense that... I'm going to do one more attempt to wrap this up. It makes sense that there's Archons and Immortals against just Zealot Stalker. But then there was a Disruptor, and it felt like there was maybe some hope. And I think if there wasn't the DTs in amongst there doing so much damage, I would have been like, yeah, it's obvious ShoWTimE should die. But with the DTs, I really felt like he shouldn't have died, but not the case. Let's go into game number 4 after the break. Of course, good news for you guys is the break is like a couple of seconds while the scene transitions. Amazing stuff, right, guys? I feel like they might have done a color swap-a-roo here, so I'm sorry for any confusion, but just to clear it up, because now I can't even quite remember what colors they were previously. Bottom left in the blue is Zest. Top right in the red is ShoWTimE. And I just want to say a very quick thank you for everyone who has been watching these YouTube exclusive videos, this YouTube tournament. It's been fun to do something a little bit different, like I've been saying a lot of. And like I say, so far, the subscriber response to it has definitely been phenomenal. There's definitely been a good boost. And, well, I don't think it's something we can, like, just crank out every single month, and maybe that might take the shine off it anyway. I definitely think it's something we should do again, right? So, yeah, I'm really excited. Maybe, I think next time what I would do is maybe make it, like, all Korean. And that's only because I know I had some players that were interested that didn't play because they didn't want to play cross-server. Like, Dark was really interested in playing this event, but he was like, you know, what if I run into ShoWTimE or Clem? My internet's not good enough to play cross-server. I don't want to do that. He told me if I was Korea only, he would be in. So, you know what, guys? I might just make a Korean one. We get Dark to play. That'd be kind of cool, right? Yeah? Yeah, well, obviously, I thought for this one it would be cool to get players like Clem and ShoWTimE, though. You know, these guys who've been killing it lately. We see a lot of them. We upload a good amount of videos of them to the channel as well when they play in the ESL Open Cups. To me, it just made obvious sense to get these guys involved in this event. So, yeah, obviously something we can look at and, you know, maybe make different versions of it in the future. Like I say, if you've got any comments on how you might like to see it go down, let us know in the comments down below. I read your feedback. I read, everybody tell me to add, 40 minutes of a black screen at the end of the video. And once again, I have to reply and say, I'm so sorry, guys. I know it would avoid the spoilers, but I just can't, because then YouTube's like, why does no one want to watch the last 40 minutes of your video, and doesn't promote it to anyone? So, yeah, I read that every day. I also read all the other ones too. So, hit us up down below as we'll see these pylon blocks. So obviously, both of them pose the gold. I mentioned it earlier, right? This is kind of the one gate expand map, and ShoWTimE gets a cybercore block on the follow-up. I think Zest wants to do the same, but this probe is looking like it might actually block the cybercore. Nope. All right, well, cybercore goes down from both, and yeah, this is kind of the awkward part. Well, Zest just turns this into a Stargate in the main base. But yeah, this is a great map for one gate expand because of the narrow ramp up into the natural. Makes it super easy to defend. But obviously, yeah, because of that, both players just go for the block into secondary block and making life that a little bit more difficult. As the Stalker comes through, we'll pick off this probe. It goes down with ease. Now the Stalker comes back along into the natural, and it's going to go and chip away at this cybercore a little bit. So cybercore will go down. Nexus on the natural as well, getting going. And just seeing our Adept of Zest making its way up to the natural too here. So Adept just continues over. Double shield battery is going to wall off for ShoWTimE. So it's going to close the door and say, nuh-uh. Sorry, Zest, you're not allowed entry. You've got your sign. We've got your photo behind the bar here. We know you're not meant to be in. And you are now locked out. I do like what Zest did with this, though, right? The Stargate really has used up his money, whereas ShoWTimE didn't really do anything to use up his money. So now he's sat on like 350 gas that's just not being put into play at all. So, and Zest is already on the way to a Twilight Council too. So what the hell is ShoWTimE going to do in terms of tech? It is just going to be a Twilight Council as well. But not only is he on a later Twilight, but then he doesn't have an Oracle that's actually going to do okay. It's funny because this hallucination sees the Oracle. So at least ShoWTimE will have some response set up. Should be able to deflect the Oracle without taking too much damage because he should know it's on the way across. Question is, where do you defend? Well, there's nothing in the natural just yet, so I guess you defend the main base. I guess that's, the choice made easy for you. So you'll defend this main as the Oracle comes in, sees the units, turns around in an instant. Good defense from ShoWTimE. Obviously cannot afford to let this Oracle in to deal any damage. He has got his tournament life on the line, down 1-2 in this best of 5, so he needs to make sure that this Oracle is not able to do anything. He needs a good start to this game, and that means getting away without any working damage early. Stalker's got back in there, pushing the Oracle around, and the Oracle is still followed back across through the center of the map. Tap, 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 tap. I don't know, guys. Just felt, I don't know. It was kind of a relaxing sound, just that, like, it's almost like a metronome, like, just clicking away in the background. You got some chill beats on. Has anyone ever made a remix? Like, not really a remix, but, like, a song out of StarCraft 2 unit sounds? That would be really sick. Like, I feel like maybe that's something I should have heard of before if it would have existed. Or maybe I'm very ignorant that it exists and I don't know about it. Or maybe it's just not being done. I feel like that'd be really cool. Like, I mean, maybe not. Maybe worth way more effort than it's worth, but I'd be down to hear that. If anyone out there, if anyone out there's got the music capabilities, got the musical talent within them, I would watch that YouTube video if you upload it. So, you know, you got 1 view guaranteed. All right, in seriousness, I feel like I've not talked much about this game, but there is just Blink and +1 attack on the way from either side. Gateways building up en masse from ShoWTimE. So he's going straight to 6 gates while Zest takes a third, and I guess there's going to be an attempted 2-base bust off the Blink. You know, ShoWTimE just going to go with the Robo coming up. I guess he gets a Prism, or is he going to expand himself? He puts the pylon to the side. Man, but this is all just feeling... It feels like everything this game is just late from ShoWTimE somehow, right? You know, not only was the early game, you know, the Stargate from Zest into a faster Blink, now he's on a faster third and more probes, and it just doesn't feel like ShoWTimE's had any opportunity. Like, it feels like Zest has been the one to kind of create chances and to, you know, have potential damage on the map. It doesn't feel like ShoWTimE's had a chance to hit any of that. Maybe that was just a fake out for the third base, and I think it has to be, right? The 6 gates, you know, that or it's going to be a very late third here. But I think it really is a fake out. Like I was originally saying, it just doesn't really make sense to add those gates. And then you can add the gates, then take a third if you're feeling in trouble. But when you know what your opponent's up to, you know the timing of their third, this absolutely more so feels like it's ShoWTimE wanting to break this down and punish Zest for getting this expansion up and running so quickly in the game. Stalkers are going to lead the charge. And they're going to get a couple probes to begin with, so it's not a bad start on the bottom side of this here. The Nexus taking a few shots of damage, and well, charge going to be done sooner from Zest. I feel like that's a game changer. You start charging in with, you know, 8 zealots into these stalkers, and that goes pretty well for you. Oh, no! Oh, wow, he actually goes for the stasis ward, but it looks like it's going to be a huge stasis ward on the entire mineral line. Yes, please, that's juicy. That's actually really, really big. I thought he was just going to start killing pros, but you know what? That's probably even better in terms of immediate effect. ShoWTimE will not have the money to warp in as much on the reinforcements of this, and Zest is still yet to pop the battery overcharge to help with this defense as well. You know, he's not even being under that much pressure when you think about it like that. It's a lot of Stalkers still trying to push in. The Oracle trying to get a look. He going to the natural here. Stasis ward number 2. Hang on a second. This fight's continuing. Stasis ward number 2, not as big, but still pretty substantial. And ShoWTimE's army, oh, he's going to blink in for this fight. These Immortals are going to have a great time. Goodbye, Warp Prism. Wow. ShoWTimE doesn't even stick around, and Zest is going to take the series. And Zest is going to go to the grand finals, friends. Zest in the finals. Okay, okay. 3-1 over ShoWTimE. You know, honestly, it was kind of not the series I was hoping for. I really hope we'd see at least one of those, like, 20-plus minute back and forth Disruptor War PvPs. And obviously, we just did not get that here. But honestly, it was still kind of cool seeing these guys kind of fight around this process, you know, this stage of the game. And I feel like that's kind of cool because what we've maybe just witnessed is almost the figuring out of, like, EU PvP and expanding versus Korea PvP and expanding. And where both those regions are kind of at, and maybe how things are done differently in each region, leading to players thinking, oh yeah, maybe I can expand here, where, you know, or maybe I can punish that, and all that kind of stuff, you know? Fantastic stuff. Awesome stuff, in fact, from ShoWTimE. It's a fun one, actually. You know, despite it being... The first game was a little bit like, yeah, going back to my, you know, making noises to explain the games, but honestly, the rest of the series was like a real, like, hell yeah. I liked it. Like I say, it wasn't maybe quite the epic back and forth. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling on because I'm in that kind of mood tonight where I'll just talk forever. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. Tune in tomorrow for the next video as well. I'll see you there. Thanks so much for watching, supporting, and being freaking incredible. I love you all. Peace out, good night, and have a great rest of your day.